God.
Okay.
Jesus.
All right.
You
Take
nervous?
two.
Good evening. This is Parker Elbert here. It's currently 8:22 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. We currently are on episode, what is it, 17 of the Weather
17.
Podcast with our awesome and my friend guest here, Evan James Weather.
Hello, everybody. Very,
Evan,
very
who
honored to be
actually
here.
has done a very good year this year. So, Evan, the first kind of thing I want you to do is that I'm going to give you the floor. You can kind of give a background of how you got in the weather and what you kind of do and what you do now, but like for the chasing and how you do that. So the floor is yours, Evan.
So I have been interested in severe weather and even, watching the Weather Channel ever since I was probably around 2 or 3. And funny enough, there's actually a home video of me drawing how a tornado forms around the time as I was 2 or 3. Eventually I have to get that because it's funny enough, I was in diapers. But as I grew up, going on and stuff, the more, I got it inspired by watching Jim Cantori and, the overall science of hurricanes, and even, in 6th and 7th grade, asking my teachers if I can present to the class, when a hurricane was like threatening the area and stuff, what the potential impacts may be. And as I got older and older, I found to chasing and forecasting and analyzing and stuff, something that became, one of my biggest like pastimes to do. And ever since, maybe around 2017 or so, I've just been taking it more and more seriously to the point where I really do, if not have it be already a major, part of my life, and also keep that going in the future, and honestly have it be something where I go chase these hurricanes, help people out after the fact, not just leave, not just be one of those people. I find a lot of happiness in helping people after the natural disasters as well. And it's definitely an honor to be here, and I appreciate you guys for having me on.
Yeah, and thank you for coming on. Actually, it's pretty cool to have you on here, especially for your recent ventures in the audio, which we'll get into later. But the first question I have, which I think I'm maybe the only one that knows about this. So we know you. I know you chased March 25th this year,
I did.
and I'm just like you. I'll let you explain how that day went for you because I was there to call it. I'll let you explain. So how did March 25th go for you?
So I got up early in the morning. I was looking at I actually waited till I think 1 a.m. for the day one outlook. I looked at it, and I mean, I just started like sweating like miraculously when I saw it high risk. I didn't get no sleep. So I don't even think I did sleep that night. I got up out of bed after being on my phone all night. We left, we went up to, I believe it was, I think we headed up towards Tuscaloosa on some highway, but we got to Tuscaloosa, kind of hung out there for the day. We got a couple tornado warnings, nothing really dropped. And I believe around maybe 4 p.m., 4:30 p.m., I got an alert on my phone, and it said that there was this tornado developing. I believe it was near Demopolis, or I don't know exactly where the Brent tornado first dropped down, but I remember I got a tornado warning that a tornado was, I think it was confirmed too, but I don't think it was heading towards any major city, and it started tracking eastward. And then before I know it, this thing's making a beeline right for Brent. I get the thing on my phone, and I don't even know how I made it. I mean, we were booking down this highway. There was ponding. We almost even like, water, or like, what is it? Hydroplaned. And we somehow made it to Brent or Centerville. And there's people sitting on the highway recording or whatever, not even knowing what's going on. And I'm like, you guys got to get the hell out of here. Because if you guys don't, it's over. And just as they got out, turned the opposite direction, we made a right. And before we knew it, man, we were in the RFD of that sucker. We saw the ghost train. It was probably one of the worst, or it was the best and worst experience of my life because I got to help the people. But here we are, getting sucked up, the right side of the car getting lifted up and down. We're getting hail and debris just thrown right into our windshield. I mean, we're lucky it didn't even break it and just fucking, excuse me, didn't even let the debris come in and take us out. I mean, we were very, very close to not making it that day. And it's something I would like to reflect on a lot. And I think it helped me grow up as a person and as a chaser with that, like, near death experience.
Mm-hmm. So I remember at the time I was recording on my old PC, and I think I still have that clip. I have to look deep for it. But
Mhm.
I think I was live streaming or was recording it. I remember because me and a few other friends were on the call. Remember, we saw the ghost show. We pointed it out. We went down that road. Then remember, you quickly panned your phone, and then right there was just this
Oh,
massive
yeah.
wedge that was barreling down
And I
towards us.
didn't even
We
see
were
it
like,
at the time. I didn't see it till
I know,
after.
yeah. Because I mean, I know what it looked like. It was, I mean, it was trees and everything, and then you just got this little valley of an opening, and then it was right there. And that I
Yep.
was scared for you, and then eventually we heard you like shit was like falling and whatnot, and then it was scary. But I just yeah, that was nuts for you that day. But I'll let if anyone else wants to go, they can go real quick. If you have any questions, go ahead.
Yeah, I have no clue right now.
All right, I'll go. So we know that you chased Elsa this year, and you
Mhm.
know you actually kind of got to be on TV. That was a pretty cool experience for that. But
Definitely.
how'd your Elsa chase go? Because it definitely looked like it was stronger than 70 miles an hour in my opinion. But
Yeah,
yeah,
I
I'll say
this that's something that I even questioned in my original tweet, that's pinned on my Twitter. So we ended up, I believe one morning, I was looking at it, I was like, first chase, kind of desperate, looks like a pretty nice storm, pretty decent, at least get some practice in for the rest of the year. So we headed down to, I believe the general area was probably around northeast of Cedar Key. And we were thinking, should we really go to Cedar Key? It's an only one-way road. If this thing gets surged, we might not be able to make it out for a while. But I thought, it's strong tropical storm surge might be, 1 to 3 feet. Um, so it might be something to kind of think about, but I wasn't too worried about that aspect. So we make it down to Cedar Key, and we're sitting at this kind of like pier thing, but it's like a parking lot next to the pier. And I mean, that thing just started like, it wasn't really necessarily roaring, but I mean, it was really, really strong. And as the morning went on and stuff, the core, or even like what was left of the core, because I remember it eroded like due to a dry air intrusion, but to the last second, and it actually started wrapping back up again. And so we got what would be kind of like the northern side of the core because it was near hurricane status, so it kind of had that structure. And I mean, that was a hell of a tropical storm. Uh, and I ended up, going. I believe it was national and local on the Fox station,
mm-hmm.
Fox Nation Go, and then I ended up getting on one station of CBS. But it was definitely awesome to be there, and that was worth it, for what it was early on in the season.
I remember I was actually watching CBS that night. I was like, oh, that's Evan on TV. Like that's my friend. And so cool. I was like, oh, that's Evan. But yeah, so that was cool. But I remember you chased Elsa, and then what else have you done? Well, yeah, okay. So next time we'll go to the next one. So your tasted Ida, you actually stayed in the roads, which I'll be honest, I was kind of mad at you at the time, but as time goes on, I kind of respect for that decision and I agree with it. That was smart of you. You know you're doing all right, so that's my bad. But just give us some of the stories that you have
Oh
from those
man.
experiences.
I honestly, and people can think I'm crazy watching this. They can understand, maybe they don't. That thing had a vengeance for me. I mean, I survived Laura. I survived these. Not all the storms are the same, obviously. Every storm has their impacts, but that storm had an absolute vengeance for me. And staying there in La Rose, it was at first maybe early in the morning. We were like, the winds are getting stronger and all this. But later on in the day, man, it just kept getting worse and worse and worse. And hell, even the backside was stronger than the, northern side of the eye wall. But that it was just like roaring. It was like basically like the energy was there, like talking. I mean, it was just a hell of an experience. And I remember that night, storm passed, right? And so the driver's side window doesn't work. So my grandpa thought, because I always take him with me, somebody thought that they were somebody was flagging us down. He didn't realize the wind was that strong after the storm had left, and he opened the door and it broke it off the the two smaller hinges. The door still functioned, of course, but everything flew out. His phone, his bag. I mean, everything just got sucked out and stuff. And that guy just left. He didn't even try to help us. So I had to get out, push the door, or whatever. And after that, I tried to grab everything that got sucked out of the car, and we tried to get out of there. And I remember the person we were chasing with. We're never chasing with them again. I'm not going to name drop, um, but absolutely a horrible person. They were trying to make us leave the same night, and there was. I remember we tried to take Highway 1 North as one of our options. That goes to 90. I don't know what we were thinking trying to get out the same night a Category 4 just passed, but it was more like I was being trying to like somebody was trying to force me to leave. But on Highway 1, it was like pitch black and there's trees over the road. I rolled down my window and I heard waves crashing onto the highway. And I was like, yeah, we're not gonna fucking chance this. Excuse me. We have no headlight. It ripped the wire out of the light bar. I mean it oh man, it was just absolutely crazy. So we had to turn around, and I don't know if you guys know what a Rouse's is, but we turned around, we had to park in this Rouse's and the storm surge was rising and stuff, and we just rode it out in the Rouse's. And it was probably the most crazy experience of my life. And during, some of those times I thought there's no way I can chase another one after this. But I know that I need to continue because in the end I got to help out a lot of people and everything. And um, I'm definitely happy to be here. I learned my lesson. Just got to take things safer next time.
Hmm.
So,
But hey, I'm glad Eric, you're okay, and I'm glad you got to help afterwards, especially with handing out water bottles and food and such. Um, so I remember watching that because I was up all night. I remember watching it intensify, and then as daybreak came, I still am myself. I get to reanalyze the storm, but I myself am pretty sure that this storm at one point, just before landfall, even during it, was a Cat 5. I mean, granted, there's a lot of that's why I'm waiting to reanalysis, but just off the front, I'm pretty confident that this was a brief Category 5 at one point. But
mhm.
that's for later. Anyway, so I'm glad you're okay and safe to get help out. That is good. That's good. Because I've heard and seen that a lot of damage down there is very bad. And anyone else has a question, they can go real quick if they want to. I'm not gonna. All right. No, so I guess.
Okay.
All right.
So,
So,
uh,
you had a question?
yeah, I did.
Okay, go ahead.
I don't know if this was answered. I mean, asked because I was doing something in the back. But what event got you into um uh chasing?
So my first chase, and this is, I mean, it's debatable if it's laughable or not. It was Tropical Storm Cindy in 2017, and it was a mid grade tropical storm in June. But the thing about it, was the flooding. I love to start taking photography of the storm. And I just felt like the overall energy in the storm. I just felt like everything with the nature kind of clicked, and I enjoyed my time doing that. And so I thought, maybe slowly and surely I work my way up. And the absolute funniest part is that my second one was Barry, which didn't have exactly the best presentation on satellite, but it was still decent. Um, at
Yeah,
landfall. It was briefly a hurricane, and it was pretty good. It was about like Elsa, maybe surprisingly a little bit worse than Elsa, or not worse as bad. It was probably a little bit less bad than Elsa, but it was still a decent storm. But yeah, around beginning of 20 or the June July of 2017, that's when I found out that I might want to start chasing tropical systems for sure.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I have a question.
Sure.
Okay, so what was your favorite system that you've ever chased?
Hurricane Laura, because I had a parking garage. I was in the same parking garage, funnily enough, with Reed Timmer, Weather Gone Wild. I mean, all of us were in there. It was like a Applebee's, but in a parking garage. Um, and the fact that we had cover and all this, I mean, for crying out loud, we literally saw a porta potty going across the ground nearly on fire because of how fast it was going. I mean, that whole night was crazy. I mean, it was like deja vu for some. I mean, I don't know. The whole night was kind of weird, but Hurricane Laura was absolutely astonishing. And I say this with a lot of tropical systems that I chase.
Mhm.
I do not like to see the community impacted, but I do like to see the science with Mother Nature. If there was a way, you know, these hurricanes could landfall without impacting communities and just, kind of like showing the nature side of things and stuff, not really impacting people, I'd rather have that 10,000 times over than it impacting communities hard and,
Right.
destroying people's lives. But I definitely love the Mother Nature part so much. It is absolutely amazing.
Yeah, I mean, I forgot you kid. Well, I guess we weren't as I think we weren't friends when you chased Laura, but um, yeah, that is yeah, Laura was something else. So I will say for sure. But so how many tropical systems in total have you chased? Because I don't quite remember the number.
I am up to 15 cyclones since 2017. So Ida was my 15th one, and I believe Laura going into it was like my seventh or eighth one. I'm not exactly sure, but it seems like every kind of halfway point, or like every time I do double in the previous year, then I end up in a major. I don't know. It's kind of weird, but
Yeah.
last year, if you're wondering, the storms for I got last year, and this 2020 is kind of the year where it really pulled me in, of course. The ones I got last year were Zeta, Delta, Sally, Laura, and Cristobal. And even Cristobal was a pretty notable tropical storm. It seems like these tropical storms nowadays have a little bit of more edge to them, and I don't know exactly what it is. But
Yeah.
they seem because everybody I've heard so many times, oh, it's just a tropical storm. That is the dumbest thing anybody could ever possibly say because those things could come
That's
in and
true.
drop 2 or 3 feet of rain and completely devastate
Exactly.
some communities. I mean,
Exactly.
Harvey was a tropical storm at one point and it devastated Houston. It literally went into Corpus Christi, came back out, and went back into Houston, or I believe it was some area like that, as a tropical storm and absolutely devastated communities like that. So it is the stupidest thing to ever say that a system is just a tropical storm.
Erika of 2015 was probably one of the most costliest and tropical storms on record because it dropped so much rain, but it was only a 40-mile-an-hour tropical
Exactly.
storm.
Exactly. Oh
Maybe I'm
man.
starting to forget Erica happened, and Erica like caused like 300, I think, more deaths probably. I think just Erica alone. But
Oh man.
so yeah, I was. I mean, like people were like, "Oh, our tropical storm could do this." I was this week, I'm like, "Yeah, no crap." I mean, like, there's still rain producers for sure, but yeah. So that's so 15. That's a lot. Holy, since 2017. Damn,
Yep.
nice. Anyone else have any questions?
Uh, uh, yeah, I do. I have a question.
All right,
Okay.
here we go.
This may be well, no, it's not a stupid question. So,
No
what's one of
question's
the
a stupid question.
Of course not. So, what's one of the challenges of storm chasing?
So one of the challenges, when it especially comes to tropical cyclones, is the
Yeah.
topography of the area. Trying to figure out, which area is subject to surge, which area is subject to a lot of trees down and stuff. I don't want to be sitting here beside a building, be protected from the wind, and have a tree fall on my vehicle. It's a lot about the geography and topography. And so before I kind of go in to picking an area where I'm going to be, where I'm going to set up. It's a matter of setting up, okay, this is going to be the middle point. I can use highway XYZ to go east or west, and I can use highway XYZ to go north or south and plan accordingly. And it's also picking what structures in certain towns I would write it out in, like a parking garage or like a Rouse's, or, having certain places, and plan having like plan A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and like H, I, J, K, and just all the way to Z.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
it's mostly about the area and what is surge prone, what's not. what area is more prone to trees, debris, and everything like that. But I definitely put topography first for sure, especially when I'm going for the eye wall that's near any sort of bayou, any sort of lake, river, etc.
Mhm.
So
For sure, yeah. I just honestly, that's something I need to work on for when I chase future hurricanes, which is in the works. But like
been in the works
I
for a little while.
it has been.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's actually a very good point that Dave and I forgot to think about is the topography in general because you don't want to chase.
And one thing I have to say is thank
Mhm.
God for Interstate 10 because I live in Mobile, which is sitting on an I-10 area, so I can go west or east. If it wasn't for I-10 and US 90, there would be no absolute way for me to chase. US 90 was actually scary coming back, going to New Orleans,
Mhm.
because here's the thing. So I go up to New Orleans, I run out of gas. I run out of gas, and I actually call my mom up, and keep in mind, I didn't talk to my mom. By the time we get to New Orleans and stuff, I didn't really talk to my mom for like 2 or 3 days. So, some lady, we were at this gas station, we were out of gas, and it was after going up through 90 on the water covered roads and stuff. That was all terrifying. So we get to New Orleans, and this lady has service, and when I hear my mom, dude, I'm not even gonna sit here sugarcoat it. I was sobbing, and it was definitely um, I was really glad to hear, my mom on the phone and everything. And she drive from Mobile to New Orleans, which is almost a 3-hour drive just to bring us gas, and we had to do it in this like parking garage because if people saw in New Orleans that we had gas, boy, we would be on a skewer right now. We would be on one of those shish kebab things cooking over a fire for our gasoline. Um,
Yeah.
Hmm.
because I mean they had no gas down there, they had no power. And for the folks in Louisiana, if you guys are listening to this, I hope you guys get your power restored, but it is definitely not looking well for the near term. And
Right.
my heart goes out to a lot of the communities affected. Of course, I tried to help as best as I could, but I got to get home somewhere safe at some point and try to get all the footage and tell these people's stories. But I digress. Um, but that was definitely also a crazy factor in Ida as well. So
Yeah. Wow. That is. I'd have to be a grown man cry. In all seriousness, um, that is wow. Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know what? We'll capture we're professionals now. So, what's some advice that you would give to up and coming hurricane chasers? Because you certainly are well experienced. So, what's some advice you would give
Oh well,
up and coming
okay.
chasers?
You have you have to plan, okay? Going into Ida, I did not plan as much as I should have, and when I say plan, I mean pack extra canned goods, med kits, whatever you need, extra gas. Plan for where you're gonna go, what you're gonna do, and how you're going to do it. Because if you do not have a structural plan and you do improv, it is not going to end very well when you're met
Mhm.
with even a few challenges. Um, so my best advice to anybody that's you're either chasing a tornado, you're chasing a hurricane, whatever you find in chasing, you have to prepare for the worst and hope for the best and have the supplies to be able to ride through that certain situation. And that's my
Hmm.
best advice I could probably give anybody.
That is pretty freaking good. That is, I would know from experience. What I need to work on is preparing for stuff in general because I'm horrible at that. One of my worst things in chasing, one of my worst kind of aspects is in chasing. Oh yeah, let's go do this, and I like don't pay attention and just like But yeah.
That
Anyways,
happens.
so is there like any like stories you want to tell? Of any of like like good like stories you want to tell? Of maybe like some of your chases. It doesn't have to be Ida in general, but any
Hmm.
stories you want to tell? Just take the floor if you want to. You know what?
So I remember so many things happened on Item, and we were laughing, we were crying. Laughing as in we were so happy to finally make it, and crying as in holy crap, we're gonna die. Um so one of the best things that has come from Ida was the look on people's faces. I mean, keep in mind, okay, this is one thing I did not say in the beginning, and don't mind me if I tear up a little bit. Getting out of there, the first cop before we got on Highway 1, he said they looked at, I mean, these cops were lying to our faces. They were like, Highway 1 is completely impassable. You're not going to be able to get to 90. And I'm thinking, we're gonna try because we got to get out of there. We're limited on gas. We sit there idle for any longer, keep the key off. We might get a heat stroke.
Mhm.
But no, seriously. So we get on Highway 1. We start going around people's like yards, getting around these power lines, and it seemed like every single power line was almost like just right for us to get through. We were going under and over, and I honestly felt like it was like a video game in a sense of like trying to get around these trees and power lines, and it was absolutely ridiculous. Like you could see where the eyeball went one way and then the backside went the other, and it even got so bad I got out and I had so much adrenaline. I just started snapping tree limbs with my bare hands, and I was like snapping them and throwing them, and I was just like so like pissed. And um I made sure to get it through. I mean, my exterior was going like vroom vroom throughout these people's fields and stuff, and that thing was like it was testing those shock absorbers, though. I tell you that. Um, but we made it through, and the whole point of that is we were the first ones on Highway 1, and these people seeing us go through with the yellow lights, we just didn't drive past. Every single person we saw outside, whether they were working on their generator, whether they were moving debris, sawing debris, every single person got at least 6 to 10 bottles of water for them and their family. And it might not be exactly ideal, but even a couple bottles of water can make a difference and show people, that we care. And we ended up handing several packs worth of water to nearly, 100 or so people, and 50 to 100 people. And that was the only people that were out. The more people that would have been out, the more we would have handed out, because we didn't want to knock door to door, be a burden to anybody, or anybody think we're looting or anything. But we just tried to go by, help everybody that we could, and also get out at the same time. We just weren't trying to get out and not help anybody in the end. So
Mhm.
the looks on the people's faces about them seeing us, and seeing that there might be hope in us helping them out was probably the best experience aside from experiencing Ida's wrath uh, in LaRose.
Mhm. Wow. Um.
Thank God for State Farm, though. They might cover my door.
Yeah.
They might cover my door. I mean, that thing blew out and got wrapped up around the fender, almost broke off completely.
Jeez.
Yeah, that sucker.
That would be fucked. Having to ride that would not be.
With no door, exactly. It ain't no Jeep. There's people riding without doors.
I was like, just get one of the Jeeps at that point.
You had to get a Jeep 101, open up all your doors and hide and have it just tore off. Hell.
Yeah. Oh crap. Well, I mean, Luke, Andrew, Justin, anyone else?
Yeah, you guys been quiet. You guys are freeloading off these
Right.
answers here.
I know.
Come on.
Okay, I have another question.
Alrighty.
Okay, so this may be a little bit personal, but how do you feel about the storm chasing community, whether that be tropical systems, tornadoes? Like, how do you?
Like weather Twitter community or okay, so
Yeah.
weather Twitter. So I believe, fundamentally most of the people in the community, we're here as a group. We might not be hanging out physically or IRL or whatever, but I believe when there's no drama going on, when we're with a lot of like when there's like a lot of people that don't fight and that are friendly and stuff, I honestly think the community can be an absolutely great place.
Yeah.
And I'm very proud to be in that community. um I'm very honored, to have people to talk to in group chats, people to give me advice, the people issuing updates, all that stuff. It kind of helped me with my chases. As long as there's not no drama going on, and as long as we're all sticking together as a group, as a team, overall being friendly to each other, welcoming new weather enthusiasts, not just calling them weenies and stuff for no reason and sending them off. That's not going to help build up a community. That's just going to scare people.
The gatekeeping and all this stuff.
When I was 10, I was saying wedge if there was a water spout. I was like I was a quote unquote weenie too, and I might have been even a year and a half ago. But the whole point is that it's never too early and it's never too late to learn weather. It's never too late to discover your hobbies, your passions. It's never too early to do so either. No matter how old you are, no matter if you're 10 or if you're 20 or if you're 30, the whole point is we can't scare people off from learning stuff and wanting to do stuff that we do. The best thing that we can do is welcome them with open arms and let them know it's never too late to learn, and you're never a weenie. You just might be not as informed as some of the other people in the community. And instead of calling them a weenie, why don't you just teach them the things that they don't understand? Why don't you just try to inform them more? Because if you inform them more, that's just going to make them as informed as you are, and help them when somebody new comes in the community, help them be the same as them, and so on and so forth. So instead of scaring people away, why don't we just welcome them more?
Totally agree.
Evan Davis, Weather Twitter King 2024.
That would definitely be awesome.
Yeah,
that would be awesome.
All right, I guess we may cut it. I mean, is there any questions? Because it's kind of getting on the hour point right now.
Oh, it's already been an hour?
Seriously?
Roughly, it's getting up on there about 10-15 minutes.
Oh, okay.
I need a couple more questions from some of y'all, because Parker's been doing a phenomenal job. Probably asked me about 50 now, so we need the other 10.
Ask a couple. I haven't. Okay.
No question is stupid. Just ask away.
No, I just can't think of them like off the top of my head. I'm terrible at this. Let's see.
Preparedness.
Yeah, we need more people participating.
Sorry, I'm kind of focusing on some other stuff right now.
I got you. What's your least favorite tropical system that you've chased?
Least favorite, okay. I'll tell you one. Marco.
I mean, if you changed Marco, that's right.
Before Laura, I went all the way to southeastern Louisiana. I get there finally. I drove from Texas to get to Louisiana because I was doing something in Texas at the time. I get there in southeastern Louisiana, and I look at the National Hurricane Center, and it says Remnants of Marco has dissipated at 4 a.m. And I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh.
I'm like, what? Are you kidding me?
That's hilarious.
Marco didn't even landfall. He just kept going and dissipated. I was so mad.
I remember like I think it got stuff like 40 miles an hour early in the rain. I just didn't remember that. Oh, that's beautiful. I forgot. That's right.
Oh man.
Yeah.
Dude, I was so rich. All I saw was Remnants of Marco was dissipated at 4 a.m. and I was so pissed. Oh man. Yeah, that is definitely. I would take Barry or Cindy over that any day.
Yeah.
Oh my lord.
Barry had an open circulate. At least Barry had a.
Laura made up for it.
Yeah, Laura. Yeah, definitely.
Laura came in after Marco, and I felt like Marco and Laura was this year's Fred and Grace in a way, because Fred came through, cleared out the shear for Grace, and then Grace came through, sheared out or cleared out everything for Ida. And I really think the two tropical systems before Ida kind of helped clear out the shear, and then that ULAC that came over the Gulf, that was probably the strongest upper level anticyclone I've seen in years. I mean, there was virtually no shear. I remember in the beginning, weren't people worried about Vinco with some tropical depression in the Pacific? People were worried about the outflow from
Oh
the
yeah,
storm in the
yeah,
Pacific causing shear. That never happened. And I was one of the
yeah. They
advocates. I
were
was like, there's no way this is going to impact Ida. People are just trying to like wish casting in the sense of, hoping things are going to get better, but you got to face reality at some point. You
yeah.
got to think, with this upcoming, I was looking at, the models and everything and the 200 millibar layer and everything. I was like, you got to look at it, what its face value is. This is probably going to be one of the worst storms to impact the United States. And I was very, very sad thinking about that, but it's the truth.
Mhm.
There's a difference between, kind of being like on the edge of like holding certain things back about forecasting, but you can't sugarcoat it because if you sugarcoat it, people are going to underprepare. So you got to be real, you know. And I was certainly being real with a lot of my close friends. Knew somebody in Houma, Louisiana, um, and they thankfully survived the storm. But I digress. You can't really hold things back at a certain degree. There's a difference between scaring people and forecasting it in a way where you're not sugarcoating, but not also, causing fear and
Mhm.
panic. So
Yeah.
you got to find that
So
middle
it's like
ground.
I remember people saying that I was like when Nora wasn't gonna affect it, we have gone to northwest or like kind of like
Hmm.
northwest at the point. So actually moving away and actually the outflow itself kind of went south. And I knew because the models had forecasted the outflow wasn't affected and it really didn't. The only thing that potentially could have affected I at the time was Cuba. And Cuba, I mean like it did for like an hour or two and then by the next day it was popping up rotating hot CBs around that center and I was
Oh
like,
yeah,
I mean
I'll tell you, dude. 12 hours in the Gulf is all anything needs.
that's what I was seeing people like, oh, it's not gonna.
I know. I kept
Like,
saying the same
like
thing. It's crazy.
people tend to forget that rapid densification or even
Yep.
explosive or stream. I mean, you don't need. I'm like that storm as like even as it was making landfall, it was dropping still 10, 11 millibars an hour. I remember overnight. Each recon pass, each hour they went in, it went from like I think like 9:40 to 9:35, and then eventually I was like, holy shit! Like this storm is. Granted, the winds never got time, thankfully, to mix down fully, and like that's why you saw such a big jump overnight in the winds. But going into the morning and right before landfall, thankfully those winds never mixed down fully.
Correct me if I'm
And
wrong.
everybody,
The recon from Ida found winds around 170 just above the surface, and they were about to
yeah,
mix down last second.
yep,
If
yep,
that thing had another 6 to 12 hours, we would have been dealing with something that would have been
oh
on
yeah,
possibly a Dorian level.
Yeah.
When's
Yeah.
the
like
ones where we were probably going to look at 165 to 185 sustained if it had another 12 hours to mix down.
mhm.
The
Yeah.
pressure was
Which
making its way down to like 920.
yeah, it was. I have it at 9:22. The last observer too. I personally have it as a category 5. I have my evidence even grab it as from further along. I still got to reanalyze the storm. I have my own reanalysis thing I do. But just at the forefront, I mean, like 171, especially where it was, it was like it was. I mean, it was just above the surface. So I very well think, right, we only got 149 sustained, but I very well think that because we had a gust of 172, and what was it, point four run? How
LaForce
do
or
you say that?
something, or Force Ron or something. Yeah,
Yeah.
Four
For
Yeah,
Run,
force
sure.
run, yeah,
Force
force
Run.
run. And I'm very confident. At least 1 point yeah before landfall that we had. Um, that we had a Cat 5, and even after the stormy landfall,
Because there could have been higher gusts
I
in areas that didn't have weather
oh for
stations.
sure, yeah for
Mm-hmm.
sure, and I'm pretty. I've never seen it before. I've never seen a storm do this, but I knew that it probably was going to survive over the marshlands, but I didn't know that it would wrap up convection, and I kind of forgot it lived off its own storm surge for the longest time, and that would make sense because I mean you already got marshy land that's going over, and you got the storm surge as pushing ahead of itself. Its base is kind of like its own about ocean effect. That's why the eye lasts so far, and then that was freaking bizarre. Never seen a storm do that before. I mean, like you see it in Australia, you never see an eye last that long over land.
I
For what
know.
was it? What was it? 5 6 hours it did. I mean, from landfall to like 12, and then
Oh,
from
it
over land
passed
like
me. I
9.
actually let me see if I have a radar picture I can put in general chat. Maybe you guys can add it in and post editing or whatever you guys do with the post podcast. So I actually have a radar image here of my location compared to the storm here. Let me if you guys don't mind 1 second. I actually have it here. 1 second. Come on, scroll. Come on, here we are. All right. So this is kind of an outside view of it. So I put that one in general, and then it might take a second to load in. And then I also have This one here as well. Let me put that one in there. I didn't know if I got an exact one with my location in the eye wall, but I also have that one, and I have a zoomed in picture as well with my location relative. And it ended up going to the northwest, and I got right on the eastern side of that eye wall. So.
Mm-hmm. But yeah, that storm was holy shit. It was insane.
And somehow, like, it looked like there was a little bit of dry air between the eye wall and the moat, and then as it was going inland, it filled back in, and I was like, "How is this even happening?" I think it went over the marshes, and it kind of like sucked up more water again.
That's what happened. I mean, you were going over warm marshes, which as a storm, which is kind of getting at its max strength. You going to, but it also was moving. It was moving kind of fast. It still was moving at like 10, 50 miles an hour. So I mean, for how fast it was moving, you really didn't need much. Like I said, it was surviving off its own marshland. In the surge that was pushing up ahead of it and over it, it was surviving off its own storm. Because you got to think that's also 80-degree, almost 90-degree water from the Gulf that's being pushed up as well. So you got to think that it lived off the marshlands. That's why it survived even longer inland because it had already the marshlands, and then it stormed the storm surge and rain in front of it as well. So it was a combination of things. That was incredible. That's something
I have a question to ask my future self here, and I don't know if this is necessarily a weenie question. And that question would be: is what if a storm was approaching, pushed a bunch of storm surge on land from the northeastern motion onto the coast, and what if the eye then went over the area that where all the storm surges? Would that water be enough over land to keep sucking up the? I don't know.
And I mean, in that we go down to Australia, especially in I want to say it's the Northern Territory. I mean, they don't the surge itself doesn't, but it's so flat there that when water kind of like gets there, when water stands in the cyclone itself, it can survive inland as far as fucking halfway in Australia before it turns push tropical
Yeah.
suddenly. And it's like it's rare because we don't get storms that especially that go in terms of that location where they make landfall. But it wouldn't be that rare because we would see more stuff like that. But it's just the topography makes it so rare in of itself that's why that happened. It's like it wouldn't be out of normal, but like it's a river delta, and that's why Evan, we were talking. I think just before you left that this area it was geographically going to be changed, and it has been saying itself has been pushed further inland. Like the beach has been pushed further inland almost from the because like Evan said, I'll give credit to Evan. He said this. He said that most of the area there's no trees there or anything to support that, so it's just a bunch of rocks and sediment because it's a river delta. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
as surge comes in and comes out, you're just pushing all the sand in, and it just stays there. So it's it's for sure worst case scenario because how everything was, especially tracking over the marshland. That's why people were like, why is this storm not weakening? Because I mean, give in. You don't need that deep of waters, especially with the storm moving that fast, to keep it. That's why it it didn't it made the Gulf colder, but but give it the Gulf of a week or two, it'll be back to almost what it was earlier. So I mean, anyways, nothing mean earning out. So any other questions? Anyone?
I've actually got one actually now.
All right, there we go.
What storm do you regret you'd never chased?
Oh,
Oh man. And in what sense? What, unimpressive or overly impressive?
Overly impressive.
The one you're looking at it and right there in general chat, right there, Mrs. Ida. And I'm telling you, Ida scarred me so much, I'm probably never gonna buy or Ida French fries anymore from Walmart. Damn them damn French fries. No, but seriously, yeah, Ida. I was so this is going to sound really. I was so planned, but still, I was so overplanned, but also still underplanned in a sense that I wasn't ready for a storm to deepen almost nearly 100 millibars and probably what 48 to 72. I don't know how long
yeah.
that it would deepen like at least 80 millibars in several hours, 20 hours, 20, 30, whatever. My whole point is I was ready for that storm of that magnitude, but also part of me wasn't ready for the storm of that magnitude. I don't know how to describe it, but I think Ida was the one where I was the most fearful for my life, but at the same time, it was also a beautiful storm to capture. So I regret it at the same time, and I do not. And that's kind of my take on that.
Yeah, I have it right here. It dropped. It dropped. I think it was over 120 hours. It dropped to 110 millibars in the last, I think, 12 or it was either, I think it's 24 or 36 hours. It dropped. No, yeah, it was, I think, 12 hours. It dropped 40 millibars. Over the 3 days it dropped 110 millibars. But over the last, I think, 24 hours it dropped roughly 40, which which is when you saw it get rapidly deepen in the eye clouds before sunrise. So, um, yeah, it was for sure. I mean, it was. I mean, it makes a better case for Category 5.
Hmm.
Yeah,
Man, I'm
I
excited
guess
for that post analysis.
I am too. It's a 50-50 shot to upgrade. I mean, Michael wins as it was making landfall, but at the same time, this I think they'll upgrade mainly because he had both those recon passes, which did. Here, and both of them. But this is where it takes me off. Both of those were marked suspicious. But they called Matthew Category 5 off of one suspect
Oh
SFMR
man.
rating, and that will always piss me off
Oh
because that
boy.
was only one suspect SFMR rating of 100 is whatever knots it was, and they called it a Category 5. But this
Oh
one has
my
two.
lord.
Two at the surface, and then 170 miles per hour above the surface. And I'm sorry. Ugh. Anyway, I'm sorry,
Oh
but
my god.
I, that's a big pet peeve of mine. It always will be because
I have
one,
to.
it was really one. Anyways, well, okay, we'll call it there. So it's good 9:09. We're coming up on the hour. So thank you for coming on, Evan. It was
Thank
amazing
you.
having
Yeah.
you on the show today. We'll definitely I'm glad to have you on in the future, maybe next year after you catch some more tropical cyclones. Currently 9:09 p.m. Eastern Daylight Time. This is episode 17 of the Weather Podcast, and see you guys in the next episode.
Take care,
All right.
everybody. God bless.